I'm Gork,
And I'm Mork.
and today we are reviewing Combat Patrol Orks. So I've been playing Combat Patrol about once a weekend since spring of 2024.
hmm
And Mork, how much Combat Patrol have you played?
I have played 5 games? More than 5 games. More than 5, but less than 10.
Okay, fair enough. So we have some experience with this box. So in this box, you're going to get a Beast Boss.
hmm
You're going to get 20 Beast Snaga boys.
hmm
You're going to get 4 Squig Hog boys.
And the little guy,
And the little bomb squig that you can't use in Combat Patrol.
which is a bummer because he's so cute.
It is. So retail, this box costs $168. And if you were to buy each of these kits individually, it would cost you $227. And that is as of January of 2025.
Yes.
So you save about $59. So you're either getting a little more than a Beast Boss for free,
hmm
or you're getting essentially a full squad of Beast Snaga boys for free. So what do you think about the kits in this box?
Are you talking aesthetically? Or are you talking how they play?
Well, I think this box is a little different than most of the others. I think there is an aesthetic consideration with this box that you
hmm
don't have with the other boxes,
hmm
right? These orcs look a little different. The feral orcs or snake bites,
hmm
they look a little different than the other orcs.
They do.
So I think with this box, it's probably both.
So aesthetically, not necessarily my aesthetic choice for the 40k universe, um, but they play really, really well. Um, the I really like the Beast Boss. I like the Power Claw, and I like rushing in with him. He's super fun. The Squig Hog boys I have used um, one time to get one of the big bads that you were playing with your Tyranids.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yep.
But every other time after that, the very first thing you kill off when we play is the Squig Hog boys.
Yeah, they're dangerous. They kind of overperform a little bit in Combat Patrol. They move really fast. They hit really hard, and so I feel like once you've played against this box, no matter what Combat Patrol you're playing, you kind of know I've really got to shut those things down. And then what about the Beast Snagas overall? What do you think about them?
I think overall they're pretty awesome. They're a little more aesthetically pleasing. So they're more sci-fi than they are fantasy. Like the Beast Boss is more fantasy, and I think the Squig Hog boys are more fantasy than they are sci-fi. But with the boys, you get the best of both worlds. I really feel like, and it's just super fun to rush people with them.
Yeah, they perform pretty well in the game, and I feel like from the appearance side, they look a little more like a science fiction army than the Beast Boss, who looks maybe like he'd be a little more appropriate in Age of Sigmar or Old World than he looks for 40k. And I feel like the Squig Hog boys, they have the cybernetic parts,
Mm-hmm.
they have some pistols, but overall, they really don't quite fit in with the orc army overall. Like next to a Death Dread or a squad of war bikers,
Yep.
they look a little more fantasy and a little less 40k.
Mm-hmm.
And that might change. The Imperial Guard, the Astra Militarum, is getting a bunch of horse units. They're getting a bunch of cavalry. So, maybe they'll look a little more in universe against those armies. But I feel like, sized up with a Space Marine, they look a little more like they belong in Age of Sigmar than they do in 40k. But I do think it plays really well. on the tabletop. I think it's a great combat patrol. It's a really good one to start with. Um, the Wa is just really powerful if you're a new player.
It is. It really is. I think every time I have WAD, um, my WA turns are awesome.
Yeah, you pick up a lot of mobility from the advance and charge, and that helps you take objectives and complete the mission. And if you're falling behind because you're just getting killed off of the table, it gives you that burst of aggression that you need to kind of catch up.
Mm-hmm.
So I think overall, as a combat patrol, aesthetics aside, I think it plays really well
It does.
on the tabletop. But that brings us to the next point, which is this a good starting point for a 40k army? I feel like it could be.
Mm-hmm.
If the feral orc, snake bite, savage orc, whatever you want to call it, if that appeals to you, if that appearance of orcs appeals to you,
Mm-hmm.
I feel like this is a fine starting point.
Yep.
You get a lot of models, and you can build a list around them pretty easily.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you take this box and you toss Mazrag or a beast boss on a Squigosaur in with this, and you've got a pretty decent sized army right out of the gate.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think about it as a starting point for the larger 40k game, versus Combat Patrol?
I would say that if I was starting on a budget, I've been to the Warhammer page, and all of the models that I am interested in, piled together, would cost more than a couple of these boxes put together. So definitely, if I was starting out from scratch, a couple of these boxes would be just fine because I love the Orks.
Yeah, I agree. I think if you're starting out and you're okay playing, the feral orcs, I think this is a good starting point. So to kind of wrap it up, I think this is an okay box overall. I think it may be an overperformer in Combat Patrol, and depending on what kind of orcs you want to play, it may be a great starting point for 40k. Or if you don't like the way these models look, you may need to find another route to get into 40k. What about you overall?
Overall, I agree with you. I think it's a fine starting point. But if the aesthetic is not your thing, there are certainly other armies that also look cool that are not orcs, that you could start with.
Yeah, that's a fair point, right? If you don't like this aesthetic and you're just looking to get into 40k on a budget, then maybe orcs isn't even the right starting point for you.
Mm-hmm.
So thanks for tuning in. Be sure to check out our future Combat Patrol reviews.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we're also going to do some list building episodes, starting with, essentially, we're going to take every Combat Patrol and say, if you bought 2 boxes of this, what would you need to add to it to get to 1,000 points, 1,500, and 2,000?
Yep, that sounds like our plan.
So be sure to check those out as well.
I'm Mork.
And I'm Gork. Thanks for listening.